thank you all for coming tonight. It's really nice to be here, and I'm glad Laurel asked me to come. It's really nice to be back in Madison. And I kind of went with the traveling theme because I'm going to read you a series of poems tonight that's really kind of about traveling and moving through space and moving through different landscapes. And I'm just going to read them. I'm going to read a series called The Eco City as a Dot on the Map, and I'm just going to read it straight through and see what that's like, I guess. But I have a little introduction that goes before the poems I'm going to read. It's also an experiment, just that might be a good way to start thinking about some of the ideas going on and kind of launch into thinking about it in your own way. So I will read that, and then I will launch into the series. This place you remember. Charles Wright wrote, "Remembered landscapes are left in me the way a bee leaves its sting. Whenever we go to a new place, we bring the place we remember with us. We look at the new place through the eyes that remember the old place, trying to find what is familiar. No place will look the same to any two people, but we understand our location relative to the distance we are from the people we love. We may use paper maps to find our way, but it is the map in our own memory, written on our own bodies, that will try to make sense of where we are." Poems can bring a reader on a trip to a new landscape. Elizabeth Bishop writes in Questions of Travel, "Think of the long trip home. Should we have stayed at home and thought of here? Where should we be today?" In those lines, you are in a new place, imagining yourself in your home landscape, thinking of the place you have traveled to. Always the new and the remembered landscapes overlap in the imagination and in real life. I once read a poem that was engraved on an old concrete bunker and was about standing in a forest in the northwest in the rain, while I stood in a forest in the northwest in the rain. It was a moment where I could feel nothing but present in that place. We are constantly trying to find our way, but when we stop trying so hard, like W.S. Merwin writes, we remember like birds where we are. Sparrow. These ink-drawn lines will tell us of what landscape we are made. We gather our rivers like seeds and sow them into these unknown hills. Soon after, we will wonder, have I been here before? Standing shoulder to shoulder, facing this lake, we each see a different body of water. How will you recognize this place I describe? Will you know where to meet me? How the sycamore glowed blue in the face of our surrender. Its globed fruit sleeps in our pockets. The Eco City as a dot on the map. Try to see the place you remember, where winter twilight hangs on the air, and you would walk along the surface of a frozen river, the hidden, still flowing current pushing up jags of ice, sending a groan through the gray trees. But you are kneeling on a hot, unknown edge, and you feel transparent, melted, and you rise, turning to find an old man with deep wrinkled skin, gold teeth, and a smile. He is holding out a piece of yellow fruit toward your hands, and you look to see what you hold there. It is your map. You've arrived during the rainy season. To a soaked bamboo awning, to soaked seedlings lining a crumbling brick wall, kids lift these small trees into the wheelbarrow, name each as they set it down. Yerba Luisa, papaya, limon. How could you know of what can and cannot be planted? The Eco Club kids, white canvas shoes, somehow spotless. The feet gingerly move between mud ruts. Your hands, your rubber boots, caked with muck. But what of Mercedes' hands, of her bare feet, which jump between the green, beaded pools filled with swimming tadpoles? The small boys. One touched a broom to the electrical wire, the small coffin, the colorful grave. Ride from bamboo house to house on the pile of compost. They sing, do you know where you are? Squatting to pee, look over the fields, see the estuary's miasmal shrimp farms. Before you, a dead cat swarmed by flies, rigid, across the metal bin labeled organic trash. They sing, how will you know if you are lost? Here, you are surrounded by the bright fruit. Ripe papayas knocked from trees land oozing next to your feet. The small boys dance in white underwear. A woman pours rainwater over your dirt-covered hands held over this newly planted lemongrass. Mercedes. Asleep in your arms, you carry her upstairs into the hostel. Say please, she helps me plant the trees. Her heavy lidded eyes lightened when sitting on top of the compost pile in the wheelbarrow, singing to the people walking back from work. For you, they clear a space for her on the floor. You next see her when you turn. She's calling your name. She's pushing her way out from within a crowd in the bus station. She's living there now, 100 miles away in the country's largest city. She's 9 and she takes your hand. She watches you get money from the machine, asks how. You answer like magic. The worst thing to say, but what else? You buy her ice cream, give her money, tell her it'd be best to go home, but you both know. That day, sitting beneath the bamboo house in a chair, her sister on your lap, crying and not speaking, the rain pouring off the roof, carving the mud, washing up the new trees. Okay, she says. Look away, what you did when a woman's fingers grip your arm, her baby's mouth open and covered in dirt. It is Mercedes who hands her the new coins. To flee this equatorial heat, board a bus to roll up mountains through night, wake to walk for hours, a trail lined with ferns and farms, a boardwalk crossing a marsh beneath gathering clouds. Stand in a waterfall's pool alone in the cloud forest. The map that brought you here lays on moss, ink webbing away. You must sew a new map through air from the one already within your hands. Beneath the cold water's surface, your open eyes see only blue shadows. You are lifting yourself from the pool. You are resting on its edge, peeling an orange. You are eating each slice. Fernanda. Curled in your lap as you sit in a chair, waiting for the rain to subside, pouring off the roof, flooding under the feet. Fernanda stares out at the rain, only will say her sister's gone, left 2 days before, again. Water seeps beneath the piles of seedlings, each pocket of soil bound with black plastic, though roots have begun to break through into the pools. Leaves sprout from our wooden tool handles. Map drawn on a napkin, still in the hand. 1. Running from the waterfall where it led. Raining hard now. Dark comes fast on the equator. Glimpse Gallo de Peña's red top, shreds of jagged leaf marching by in a line. Prehistoric ferns, expected things. Peer through this gap in the trees. Lightning makes it possible to see. Clouds settling in the forest ridges. 2. This morning in the orchid garden, tiny iridescent wings buzzed blue above, large birds that crouched inside crates, wings splinted. Where were you when the bus dropped you? Here, when you walked with a candle, when you walked, flickering. 3. Long before the boy driving the cow, the girl building her house, the old man resting on the bench where you rested. Try to see this place as if you had always been on this path, as if you had never wished to melt into this ground, had never prayed for the distant volcano's eruption. 4. Twisting this blue-green feather, you separate the barbs wet from rain. From a window you saw the guacamole swoop to the wooden pole. This feather, this blue-green letter, float to the pavement. This will be pulled from an envelope, while cold apple ash swirls in a steel-bellied stove. But what will you use as the return address? Somewhere, with something in the hand. Always return with an extra tree for Soy La Luz, whose parents named her I Am the Light, who'll shrug and smile if you ask about it, and who'll move to her garden to tuck this coveted limon into the algae-covered soil, in a corner, behind banana leaves, enough sunlight coming through holes in the fence, the tree hidden enough from dogs and kids. Upstairs, her grandkids hoot and tackle each other like the wrestlers on TV, take turns being thrown over your shoulder and spun. Soy La laughs and stirs soup on the stove. What made you think your company was enough? They hand you a globe and you show them from where on the map you came, and they all point there too, to say that's where they will go. Thank you.